I'm going to talk to you today about progressive web apps, which we've seen at PushON to be quite a relatively new technology that seems to be going places. So just thought it would be good to give you guys a bit of an overview of what PWA is and how you could potentially implement that as a business. So one of the kind of key reasons PWAs have come about is down to customers and the typical frustrations they have with online browsing, things like slow websites, poor shopping experiences, etc. And customer expectations are pretty high at the moment. Some of that's stemmed from COVID. We've got a little stat here, so 86% of buyers will pay more for a better customer experience. And it's again clear at the moment that customer experience often outweighs price and product when you're shopping online. So I think naturally there, if you can optimise the e-commerce experience, you're in turn likely to convert more shoppers into customers, boost things like loyalty and retention. So in terms of like common customer frustrations, some of the kind of standard stuff that we come across is encountering different shopping experiences across different devices, not being able to find products very easily, experiencing a slow and cumbersome website, and then kind of a lack of engagement, really, lack of poor engagement and kind of communication. So yeah, these are kind of some of the common frustrations that we come across. In terms of what customers are looking for, really it's all about getting from A to B on the path of least resistance, and that's about speed, ease of use, consistency, and those three things really make for a great buying experience. Obviously, as a brand, I think there's a lot of brands out there that are seeking, I guess, the means to make more meaningful digital interactions with their customers, and that's obviously in turn to try and capitalise on a new wave of digital shoppers. So a little timeline here. This kind of just shows Google's commitment to progressing customer experience, and what brands need to do really to stay on top. So yeah, back in 2010 we had the introduction of responsive web design, which I think most of you probably heard of that term. And then in 2015 there was a shift towards mobile experience and quality content. And then in 2016, so progressive web apps were actually introduced then, but again, it's only in the last probably year or two where it's really kicked off. And then 2018 is a big one really in terms of page speed being a kind of a core ranking factor. And then from 29 onwards, largely mobile first indexing. And then obviously last year we saw core web vitals and the page experience update. So for me, that's kind of highlighting two things. One, obviously mobile is key, and two, customer experience is really important. So if you're not providing a positive mobile customer experience, then you're potentially putting your business growth in danger. Cool, missed that one. Right, so on to the meaty stuff. So in terms of PWAs, so progressive web apps, so kind of mobile usage has obviously risen hugely in the last few years. I think to a point now where people spend more time, or twice as much more time on mobile devices as they do on desktop, which is no breaking news there, but that's fact now. And with that, I think customers are at a point now where they're demanding consistently great experiences, and this is where PWAs can help deliver. So I don't know if has anybody come across the term PWA before, progressive web apps? Yeah? Okay. So they can be defined in many different ways, which makes the subject pretty confusing. But highlighted a few of these here that I think explain it quite well. For me they're web apps that are like regular websites, they can appear to the user like a native mobile application. And they're essentially a hybrid of a regular website and a mobile. So they're built using web technologies that act and feel like an app. But despite having those app-like features, it's important to understand that PWAs aren't a direct alternative to a mobile app, but they're kind of enhancing existing web technology. So when you build a PWA, you're actually building a single website that runs on every device. And I think that's I guess one of the primary reasons why the likes of Google and Microsoft, and other corporate companies are pushing PWAs, predominantly just to create better cross-device experiences. And then, this is probably my favourite quote. It's from a chap called Alex Russell, who came up with the concept of PWAs. They're just websites that took all the right distance. So in terms of the characteristics of the PWA, so they're quite key. They're discoverable, so they can be found via search engines. Installable, so you can add to your mobile device's home screen. Linkable, so you can obviously share a URL. This is pretty cool. Network independent, so you need to have the right technology in place, but they can work offline or with poor network connection. So there's been a few enhancements of late. So there'll be, if you look at an e-commerce website, site that sells online, and you might be, I don't know, like me earlier on a train, poor connectivity. You can actually browse a PWA website, order, and then when you've got online connectivity, they'll take the payment. So it's that kind of cutting-edge technology which is coming into play, which is pretty cool. They are progressively enhanced, which essentially just means they're usable on older browsers. But obviously, like with most things, they're not. They're only kind of fully functional on the latest browsers like that. And they're re-engageable, so kind of like with a mobile app, you can send notification. Whenever there's new content available, for example. Responsively designed, they work across different screens and different browsers without any issues. And they're secure, so the connection between the user and the app and the server are secured against any third parties that might be trying to get any sensitive data. So, some decent characteristics there. And then in terms of beyond that, I forgot about this. So this is an example of PWA. This is one of our sites, Brandon Hire Station, that we launched at the beginning of the year. Just wanted to maybe check out when you've got a moment on your phones just to get a feel for how a PWA site runs. Again, look out for things like speed, because it's mind-boggling how quick they are compared to a normal website. Right, on to some of the kind of key features of PWA. So as I said before, they are super fast, and according to Google, over half of customers will abandon a website after just 3 seconds of loading. So obviously speed is, it should be your number one priority, and PWAs can certainly provide that. And they excel at customer experience. So with that, obviously helps reduce things like bounce rate. They excel because they obviously load immediately, respond instantly to customer interactions, and obviously rich in UI as well. And Google, again, more data from Google, but they've reported that the average PWA site increases conversions by 52%, which again is a pretty impressive number. They open up communications well with the customers, so I guess they help to offer new ways to regain and maintain engagement through things like push notifications. So you can use them for things like displaying alerts when there are flash sales, when you've restocked products, or when you've got delivery updates, things like that. And another stat from Google, so they report that almost 60% of users are allowing PWAs to send them notifications, which is actually higher than most mobile apps. And then, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, they work offline. So, yeah, if you've got poor connectivity, you know, you obviously, as a customer, you can lose a bit of purchase momentum if you can. You're dipping in and out of connectivity. So, which in turn obviously reduces the likelihood of an order being completed. But yeah, with this offline mode feature, it lets users continue to browse on the site. Yeah, with little or no connectivity. So, and that's not meant for extended periods of time, but when you've got a little dip, it means you can go ahead and still complete your order and come, you know, the payments are taken afterwards. Yeah, you can basically fake an offline order. So, done by some payment request API, which I'm not technical enough to know those details. And yeah, just some summary of some of those benefits. So, yeah, mobile fast, device and operating system agnostic. You can run offline, offer push notifications, can deliver localized content, very secure, and they behave like native apps. And yeah, we've seen, I think, certainly with Brand and Hire Station, that this kind of rich functionality has had a benefit on the metrics that they're reporting. So, which are some of these on screen really. So, what we did with them really is as you do with any kind of a client that you're working with, you have a discussion around what metrics matter the most to them, and then obviously you can ensure that you're tracking those necessary events. But yeah, interestingly, all of these kind of key sessions increase in a positive way. And there, as you guys probably know, that there are several tools and techniques you can also use to track this kind of data. So, obviously, Lighthouse, Chrome User Experience Report, those kind of tools. But yeah, you're going to want to be looking at conversion rate, sessions per user, average session duration, that kind of stuff. And yeah, again, in terms of kind of putting that together, some of the stats again from Google kind of relate to what we've seen from our clients that are running on PWA. So the average bounce rate of the PWA site is 42% lower than a similar mobile website, which again is quite a significant difference. Mobile sessions on PWAs are increased by nearly 80% on average. And then brands using PWAs notice that page views increased by nearly 134%. Higher engagement, 137%. So yeah, and that average load time is key really. So that's, I think, 8 times faster than an average mobile landing page. And conversion rates been seen to increase by up to 52%. And again, maybe not quite at that level, but we've seen certainly similar stats with the clients that we've got using PWA. Yeah, and that, I guess, shows you that there are a number of benefits of going down that PWA route. I think it's come at a good time when mobile user behaviour, I guess, has become more demanding. I think most businesses now are mainly competing on customer experience. Obviously, price and product will always be at play, but I think customer experience now is key, and that's where I think PWA stands out as a new technology. But yeah, they're obviously not like with everything. They're not like a magic bullet to online success. I'm not saying you should go and build a PWA site now, but yeah, they will certainly give you the tools and the channels, I guess, to help engage with your audience. So there's certainly something that you should consider. And yeah, if you want to know a little bit more about PWAs, then I found these 2 resources really useful. So they're both online resources. Just gives you a bit more of a granular look at what PWAs are and where they're heading. So definitely worth checking those 2 out. Yeah, and that's it. This has no relevance to this. But, yeah, I always include PushON. But yeah, just a little bit about PushON. So that's wrong by the way, but we opened in 2005. 40+ team based in Manchester, Edinburgh, and Bristol. Full service e-commerce agency, roots in digital marketing. That's where our business was founded. We work with Adobe, primarily Adobe Commerce. That's the stack that we work with. Yeah, and we like to try and get involved as much as we can in terms of marketing and e-commerce meetups. So we're trying to, just make as much noise as we can and give back a bit to the community. Work with some nice brands as well. But yeah, I realise I went through that quite quickly. But that, in a nutshell, is what a PWA is. Like I said, I think we're at a point now, I think, where there's a lot of new technology emerging, and for me it's looking at some of the major brands and what they do in the next year or two and what direction they take. So we already know the likes of Starbucks, for example, have a PWA. I think we just need to see what else kind of kicks on, what other businesses are taking up a PWA as an alternative to just a responsive website. And the benefit really, if you're a business that has a mobile app and a normal website, you're obviously managing two different channels. So obviously the benefit of PWA is just one channel. So that should save time and cost in the long run as well. But yeah, hopefully that's given you a very brief overview of what a PWA is. Check out those articles and feel free to give me a shout if you want to learn anything else. Any questions?
You mentioned the cost is kind of lower because you're just mimicking the main website to mobile. Is that something that the cost will?
I think the ongoing cost would be lower. The initial cost, because it's a relatively new technology, and depends what you're integrating it with. Obviously, we use Adobe Commerce, so when we build e-commerce websites, we use, where possible, a lot of functionality that's in Adobe Commerce out of the box. However, they've not quite caught up yet in terms of their compatibility with PWA, which means we have to create a lot of custom API endpoints, and it means that cost to the client also increases. So for us, PWA projects are big projects, and you are talking a serious investment. But what we've seen really for businesses that are looking at it or are or whoever on boarded with us is that they're obviously looking at that kind of total cost of ownership over a longer period of time.
It's a big cost up front, but it will be durable
for
longer.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's not obviously, it's not a direct replacement for mobile apps. I'm not saying mobile apps are obviously dying. I think there's certainly, from data that I've seen of late, there's certainly less people downloading apps now than there ever has been. But yeah, if you're looking to kind of simplify that journey and have a similar journey across all your different across different devices and so forth, then a PWA is it's an option that's worth considering. Really.
Forgive me shouting my question over 2 feet, but for the people behind me, is it any more or less difficult to offer personalisation through a PWA than a conventional site?
No, not at all. The only thing to consider is all the technology providers. So if you look at personalisation, if you're looking at things like Klaviyo or Nosto or whatever it is, they might not have the integration ready, so they might not have a compatible integration, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it means as an agency we are building that for the client, which means cost. But like I said, a lot of especially in the Adobe world, there's a lot of third-party plugins, lots of tech providers that are just catching up and offering PWA add-ons essentially. So one of the big plugin providers for in the Adobe world, Adobe Commerce world, is a company called Amnesty. They've been going for a number of years, and they've got most of the third-party plugins you want to install on a website. They offer, and they've, I think, in the last year or so, pretty much rolled out 90% of their extensions to be PWA compatible. And I think we'll see other businesses following suit. All of the Like from a payment perspective as well, all of the kind of more modern payment gateways, like Adyen, for example, they've all got that PWA compatibility. But I think for us, we just want to see a bit more of a broader take up from, mainstream kind of heavy hitters, and go from there. But it's the speed. The speed, I guess, is the main thing here, because it is a massive difference compared to a standard website, standard e-commerce website. And obviously speed is such a huge factor now. So yeah, we're like I said, we've got that. Well, we've got Brandon Hire Station live. We've got another website that's going live in a couple of months' time, and then really it's just getting an insight into the data behind it, and seeing what's worked, what hasn't worked, and trying to grow their business, and just maybe comparing it to some of those more standard e-commerce offerings, and seeing what looking at those metrics and seeing what works and what hasn't. You nice?
I think.
Yeah.
And what is it about PWA that makes it so much quicker to load than?
It's a technology behind it. So has everyone heard of the term headless? Yeah. So it's a headless approach, which means it's not fully headless, but there's elements of headless, which means there's obviously decoupling of the front end and back end, which in itself gives you some speed performance. But it's the whole technology, the code base behind it is very different. And it's just built for speed, really.
So the headless structure allows you literally to pull out data quicker. You just have to go through almost the back.
Yeah.
Who developed the tech?
Well, the original founder was from Google.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think now it's more of a kind of an open source type technology that has just been developed by the community.
So do you see significant benefits on Google for SEO purposes?
Yeah, I mean, we're with Brandon Hire Station. We've seen with some of the spoiler, yeah. With like some of these metrics, these are from Google, and they always are not a true reflection, to be honest. But look good. But yeah, we have seen like good stats. But like I said, it's not. We've also had complications because it's a new technology, and lots of things that you kind of assume would just work out the box. Like things like schema didn't, so it meant us building stuff out. So it's it's a learning curve, I guess, and we only push PWA to a client if they're really the right fit. I think the more and more adoption that we see, the more comfortable I think we'll be in rolling it out to more clients.
What is a right fit client for PWA now? Adventurous for one.
Yeah. So for the likes of Brandon Hire Station and a company called DIY Megastore, Brandon Hire Station have been around for a long time, but with DIY they're fairly new to market. I think with PWA it gives them that that instant boost, because they're using groundbreaking technology. They're willing to invest in it, and that it's not necessarily. Time will tell whether that actually has any real impact. But if you look at their competitors, they're generally using older platforms, sluggish sites, poor code, and yes, you could build a standard e-commerce website and you could do better than that. But with Google's reliance on speed now, it's PWA is a real kind of alternative. And I think it's those businesses that have that separation of a mobile app and a website, and often it's when they've gone down the route of using a mobile app just because they think they need to. They don't really understand they've just done it because someone said, yeah, we should have an app. And there's no real, they're not. If they're offering something on the app that wasn't possible on a native PWA website, then that's fair enough. But if it's generally the same experience, then why are you paying to maintain two separate applications? Yeah. Any other questions?
Is there any differences or implications for tracking, or is it just the same?
No, it is just the same. The only, again, I can only talk about this from a kind of an e-commerce perspective, and using Adobe Commerce, but you just have to check that when you go down that route of using a PWA, no matter what technology you're using for it, that it gives you that ability to track data, because that's what we found. It wasn't for certain metrics, which meant us building out custom work to capture that. So yeah, there's a lot of homework, and there's lots of stuff out there. But if you look at I don't know about Salesforce, but if you look at platforms like Shopify or Ecommerce, obviously Adobe Commerce, they've all got PWA offerings or are developing PWA offerings. So, which shows, I think, there's obviously going to, obviously feel like there's going to be a need for businesses to switch to PWA.
You said it's not for everyone. Are there any red flags you would say? The client approach you says you want PWA website, you can't because.
I think biggest red flag is if they need a lot of customization, or if they have a heavily customized RFP that they send us, and there's just lots of integrations where they're maybe using something like Adobe Commerce, but they're heavily customizing it, or require it to be heavily customized because of their feature demands. That's just where it gets a bit messy, I guess. It's still, it's obviously still doable, but it just means there's a lot of initial work. And if they're like, especially if they're replatforming from another provider to Adobe Commerce using PWA, that's a massive undertaking. So I think I think the only times we would, I think a lot of it really is down to like, what are your ambitions as a business? Who your kind of demographic are, what you're selling your B2B business and your B2C, and then just assessing whether that's what they're looking to achieve really is the right fit for PWA. And then if it's not, well, it's just a standard implementation, standard rollout. But yeah, it's certainly the challenging projects, very challenging projects.
It's just basically a point where you keep adding requirements, and there's a point where it's like, right,
because it just means cost just keeps escalating, and and you've got then there's a conversation around, well, is there any real and is the amount you're paying actually really going to benefit you? Are you going to see the return on investment in 6 months' time or 6 years' time? So yeah, those types of questions that need to be asked. But I think, a lot of the businesses we talk to, they are looking over a longer period of time, and they do want to be, they want to kind of try and keep up the times. Obviously, the e-commerce world is constantly evolving. It's really difficult to keep on top of things. But obviously, if you can set off on the right foot using something like PWA, which is which to be fair has been around since 2015, but really it's only kick-started over the last year or two. That it gives you that better success rate, I think. And that's the reason likes of Hire Station and DIY Maker Store have gone down that route.